For those of you that are new, yes, we are literally recording this as we go, because then if you either wanted to see something later, you happen to miss, you'd be able to see this. So here, my y-intercept would be a -4. So I go down 4, and there's where my first point was. And from that point, I've got to go slope. So since my slope was 3, I want to make it a fraction. I make it 3 over 1, which means I go up 3, number on top, my up or down. And I go right 1, so I go up 3, right 1, dot. Up 3, right 1, I put a dot. And I keep doing that, and then draw a point, draw a line through those points. So that's kind of basic with what we're up to with the lines. Now what we're going to do with this, and where we're actually going to get into the actual lesson, is this 6-1 graphing system. Now, like I mentioned yesterday, anytime we have anything that are notes, and that's what this isn't something that's going to come into me. This is something that we are going to have. I'm going to get you some examples, and then when we get to a review, or we get to a quiz, or we get to a test, you can use this if you want to, as long as you keep hold of it, that is. So what we're going to do is basically one of 3 things is going to happen every time with these. Either the 2 lines we graph are going to cross at some point, and that spot that they cross at is my answer. It'll tell me what the x and y value would be. Sometimes you may find out it's the exact same line that you graphed, and that's what's called infinite, or just many solutions is okay for that. And then sometimes you may draw the 2 lines, and they may not cross at all. Well, if they don't cross at all, there's no answers. There's no solution. So it's always going to be one of those 3 things that's going to end up happening with these. So when we go to graphing the lines on these, I'm going to actually make a suggestion. Actually, I'm going to do better than make a suggestion. Go to graph the lines. Me, in this case, I'm just going to keep my regular old black line with this one, and then I'm going to change colors on my second. That way I know which one's which. So when I go to do this, and this may seem a bit odd when I first say it, once we start plotting the points for our lines, don't connect the dots right away. Okay? We're going to do something that I call, going dot crazy. I'm going to put every single dot I can for the line, but I'm not going to connect them. So here's how this works. My y-intercept in my first line is 5. It's the number that's on the end by itself. Now again, my y-intercept means that first point somewhere on the y-axis. This is positive 5. I'm going to go up 5, put a nice big dot there. Once I've done that, my next step is to do the slope. Now the slope is the number that's in front of x. And again, if it's not a fraction, make it 1. Because otherwise we tend to forget about the run part. So this tells me I'm going to go up to this positive, and I'm going to go right 1. So from that point that I made, from that very first one, I'm going to go up 2 and right 1. Up 2 and right 1. You're like, okay, I can do this up 2 and right 1, but then I ran out of room. What the heck? Here's a trick. And we talked about this during first semester a little bit. If I'm going up 2 and right 1, I can do the opposite of both of those things, and I can keep drawing my line that way. Like, wait a minute, what? What I can do, and I'll get on the same line, so instead of going up 2, I'd go down, and instead of going right 1, I'd go left. So kind of watch how this works. Once I get that part, so if I start back here again, or I can even start up here. It's like down 2 and left 1. Oh, okay, I already made that dot. Down 2 and left 1. Okay, that one works too. Down 2 and left 1. Down 2 and left 1. And some of you may be saying, as you're doing all this dotting, but do I really need to do all this? I don't get why I don't just draw the line through and say I'm good. because sometimes we're not real accurate, me included. I'll sit there, and it'll be like, I just kind of draw my line through, and then I draw the other line, I'm like, well, they kind of go through here. By doing just the dots, I'm going to see right away where they are. So that first one's done. Even though you want to draw the line, don't do it. Don't do it. So now we're going to repeat the process for my other line. My one, in my case, is going to be pink. What's my y-intercept for my pink line? Where am I going first? Anybody want? One of two choices. There are two numbers there. I see a -1, that number in front of x, and I see a 2. Which one's the y-intercept? The 2. So I'm going to go up 2. Awesome. And put a dot. So then that means the only number that's left to be my slope, and again, you won't have to do all of this written out stuff every time, but I want you to see, especially when we're doing examples that you'll have to work with later, I want you to see everything and how it works. So my slope, remember, it looks like it's -1, but I want it to be a fraction. So I'll put it over 1. Okay, if it's already a fraction, that's cool, but if not, then we'll make it 1. So what's this -1/1 mean as far as where I go for slope? Is negative going to be up or down? Negative is going to be down. Down 1. And 1 is positive. So we're going to go right 1. So I'm okay. Down and right, down and right, down and right. And if I start going down and right, I'm like, you know, the other line's in the other direction, so I probably am going to need to go that way too. So just like we did before, if my initial slope is down and right, I also can go up and left, as long as I do the opposite of both. So as I start to do that, up and left, I just found a spot where I had a dot before, and now I put in another one. That spot right there is my answer. So I need to take a moment and figure out exactly what point is that. So let's see, how did I get there? I started from here, I went left 1, and up 3. My coordinate point, my answer, is how many do I go over my x value, over 1, up 3. My x value is -1, my y value is +3. And I have the answer. It's different than slope, okay? When I'm just making a coordinate, it's just plain old rise over run. And that's how I work that. So that's how these types of things go. And it's going to be the same every time. So I'd suggest, as we're doing these, again, kind of boxing one in with each color so you know which one's which. Because if I make a mistake, I can go back and know which one's going to do it. And just follow this same procedure. My y-intercept's the number on the end. It's all by itself. That means I'm going to go down 5, because here's my y. So a nice big dot that I'll be able to see later. Now this time my slope's a fraction already. Number in front of x is a half. So again, up and right. Take the number on the top, it's always up or down, and positive be up. So 1/2. So up 1, and right 2, up right 2, right 2, Do that till I run out of room, and then say, okay, I've been going up and right. What's the opposite of those? Down and left. Down 1, left 2. 1, left 2. Again, just until we run out of space here. So basically, the dots become your line, is what's going to happen with these. So when I get to the next one, I'm like, okay, the number on the end is my y-intercept, so always what I do first. So that's at 3. Look at that. And then, 1 over 2. Up 1 and right 2. Okay. So up 1 and right 2. Right. And I ran out of room there, and they haven't crossed yet, so maybe if I go the other way. So instead of going up and right, I can go down and left. Left, down, and left. Huh. They never cross. Oh. If I look back at the top here for just a second, I'll put it back down. If they don't cross, they are parallel. There's no solution. Now, let me give you a hint here where you might even be able to get out of some work. We all like finding those types of things. If you look at the slopes of your lines, okay, and they're the same, it's either going to be many solutions or no solution. It's going to be many if it was the same line. But if my slopes are the same, I'm going to end up with no solution more times than not. Okay? If you ever saw that, you can just write no solution, go about your business even. So that wouldn't be too bad. So they're not going to cross at all. We're just kind of seeing how this whole thing works. Kind of reviewing a little bit with our graphing, and at the same time, we're kind of working on this extra little thing of actually finding a solution. So when I get over to the back, we're not going to do all of these. We're going to grab a few. The ones I want us to take a peek at are number 3, number 4, and number 6. And then we'll kind of see where we're at here. Same deal. Get into a good habit on this. Again, if you need to keep my color, take the colored pencil with you to do this, I don't care. But I'm always going to make one of each color, because then if something goes haywire, I know where to look. So I look and I go, okay, negative x minus 5. Again, I'm always going to plot my y-intercept, whoops, I'm off the screen, my y-intercept first. That first dot that you make, with very rare exceptions, is always going to be somewhere on this y-axis. This is negative, down, a dot. Now, I don't physically see a number in front of x. What number is there? So here, my slope is negative 1, or negative 1 over 1. I like to be a fraction. So we're talking down, right. Down, right, 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 right. Again, when I run out of room, I just do, okay? Because here with this one, negative would be down, positive on the bottom would be right. So I'm going to keep doing that on each one. And when I run out of room, I'm going to start doing the opposite of both of those. So I'm going to be going up, and I'm going left. Up, left, up, left, left. And I'm just going to keep going up and left until I run out of room. And whatever color that is, I'm going to toss it to the side. And I say, all right, let's do this again. And sometimes we're going to get extremely lucky. Like in this case. My y-intercept is negative 5. hey, I already have a dot there. So my answer is done. I don't even have to worry about graphing the rest of it. Shoot, why do that if I don't have to? So if that's my answer, that's where both my dots cross. Well, let's see, where is it? Well, x lined up here at 0. I didn't move it all, so that's 0. But I had to go down 3, 4, 5. And if I wasn't sure if that was the answer or not, if I plug in 0 for x and 5 for y, it does work for both of them, and I get the answer correct. So it doesn't work out too bad. So sometimes I can even get out of some work with them. 4, sometimes you may even see 4 written like this. If you just see like y equals 5x or 2x or something sometime, we can put a 0 on the end. It lets us see where the intercept is going to be. We get that one dot in there. And then remember, my slope is always, 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 always a fraction. So 5 over 1 for slope, where does that mean I'm going to be going for this one? Slope of 5 over 1. Any ideas? Am I going right 5 and up 1? Up 5 and right 1. So again, when I'm doing slope, let me kind of put this here in the middle so we've got it to reference. Slope is what's called rise over run. And what that means is I go up if it's a positive number. I go down if it's a negative number on the top. On the bottom, I go right if it's a positive number. And I go left if it's a negative one. So if I need to see that somewhere on my note sheet to kind of help me out, that's okay. So I'm going to keep going up 5 and right 1. Then I'm like, okay, up and right. Do the opposite. Down and left. Down and left. Okay, not a lot of dots this time. Hopefully this works for me. So I go to do the next one. Here's my y-intercept at 4. What's my slope? I don't see a number. Closer. You don't see a number in front of the variable. It's 1. 1 over 1. So up 1, right. Hey. Up 1, right 1. There's my point, right there. So if that's my answer, how did I get there? Well, when I'm doing a coordinate, I do my x value and then my y. So to get there, if I start at the beginning, I go right 1, and up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And again, coordinate points are not slope. Get a coordinate point, we start in the middle, we figure out, where do I go on my x and where do I go on my y. Last one of these on the note sheet. It's got a twist. Not the first part, though. My y-intercept is at 1. I go up. No number in front of x, but there's a negative here this time. So my slope is negative 1 over 1. So I'm going to be going down because it's negative, and right because the bottom number is positive. Down is right, down is right. And when I run out of room, going down 1 and right 1, down 1 and right 1, I do the opposite of both, which would be up and left. Boatload of dots this time. Now comes the stinker. X equals 5. Now if you remember back in first semester when we had just X or Y in a number, some of our lines were horizontal, they just went side to side. Some were vertical, they went up and down. Which one's X equals go with? Up and down or side to side for X equals and just a number? Go the other one. Up and down. Okay? If it's X equals and just a number, you're always going to get just an up and down line at that value. So if X equals 5, draw a vertical line through there. Okay? If I ever get Y equals and just a number, that's going to be a horizontal, a side-to-side line. So this time I actually got to draw a line for once. So I look and I'm like, okay, here's the line. Oh, there's the point where they cross. So I say, okay. To get there, if I start over from the beginning, I go right 5 to get lined up with it. And I go down 1, 2, 3, 4. And the nice thing about the ones that we're doing is that they all come out nice. They're not going to come out nasty. So here's kind of your job. Keep the 6-1 graphing sheet and this sheet handy somewhere for use on assignments, for use in the quiz, use on the test, anything like that. Your job is that last sheet that was up there is to go ahead, graph the 2 lines, and I'm going to stress this part, graph the 2 lines, okay, with dots, and then say where the solution is. On the back of this sheet are possible solutions. Now, there's more solutions there than there are questions. But you can check to see, oh, I got -1, 3 for this one. Is that one? Oh, it is one of the answers. But you can't just plug it in and say, oh, I'm done. One other thing I want to help with, because I don't want to leave you hanging on something. Some of these problems on the back, you'll notice they're not in Y equals like all the other ones we've done are. So let me help you get those adjusted. My job is always to have Y on a side by itself. And if it's not, it's my job to make sure that happens. So here, since I'm minusing X, I have to do the opposite to move it to the other side. So I'm going to plus X on number 7. And I have X plus 4. And I can graph that. Okay? But I have to have Y by itself. Okay, number 8, those are ready to go. Number 9, the top one's not quite ready. How do I get that -2x out of there? What's the opposite going to be? Okay, so we're going to plus the 2x to each side. This one becomes Y equals, oops, let me get on the screen here, 2x plus 3. And then I can graph that. Okay, but they have to be in Y equals form. There's one more like that. Number 10's a doozy on this one. And then we'll have these ready. On number 10, again, goal is to get Y on a side by itself. Since it's Y minus 2x, I have to do the opposite. I have to plus it. So it'll end up looking like Y equals positive 2x plus 1. Because I plus 2x. Here I was minusing the x. So I'm going to plus x. Again, y equals positive x minus 1. And then I can graph those two lines, but I always have to have them in y equals. So if you do get that occasional question where there's a y that's not by itself, I have to take that one step to get there. So what I will do to help you out tomorrow when you come in, the answers, the solution points will be up for all 10 of these. But again, you're going to have to have made the dots and the lines anyway. But if you struggled on some and you're like, ooh, you jot the answer down, then work back on it, that's okay. You can do that. I never worry if you do the little puzzles at the bottom or not. If you want to see how it's going, you can. But if not, no problem. Okay? So now even you've got